There we are. We're live, Dad.
Oh,
Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of the Brian Tracy Experience. I am Michael Tracy, your co-host, with my brother David Tracy, and of course, the Brian Tracy himself. Hey, Dad, and I know my mom is back there somewhere. Mom, are you back there somewhere?
Shows a hand. Oh, there you are.
There she is. Awesome. So, welcome everyone to the Brian Tracy Experience. As people start to come on, we have a really great episode today. We're going to be talking about mind control. Basically, in the comments in a lot of the previous episodes, there were a lot of questions about how do you wrestle back control of your thoughts and your mind and your attitude? How do you stay motivated when you're experiencing adversity and setbacks and maybe some small failures, or maybe you just feel stuck? So how do you reset your mind? How do you change your mindset? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Dad, David, we got some people coming on. Hold on. We got Thinking Time. We got Paul Kelly on YouTube. We got Susie Hall from YouTube. We got a bunch of people coming on. Welcome. Australia, Africa, Ireland, Chicago. California has been represented by Stan Cat 4. All right.
Washed away by the tsunami, thank God.
Yeah, we dodged a bullet there. No tsunami in Southern California. I think Hawaii got a really light dusting. So the tsunami did not topple the world, which is great.
Hey, so Mike, when you think about mind control, is there a specific book that comes to mind that sort of changed your perspective on that, on how to sort of recapture your own attention?
That's an interesting. So, I mean, there's a ton of books about mindset and attitude. I think
one, Mike, that you recommended to me about 15 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm wondering if I can send it to you. Maybe with mind control, maybe I can send it to you right now.
And it wasn't Psychology of Achievement?
No. It was a little bit more about meditation and mindfulness and presence.
Oh, was it the Tao Te Ching?
Nope.
Was it The Prophet by Khalil Gibran?
Nope. You get one more chance.
Okay.
There's a lot of bells that ring in it if you listen to the audiobook.
Oh, jeez, David.
Come on.
Give me another hint. Give me another hint.
It's The Power of the Present Moment.
Oh,
that's really easy.
Yeah. The power of now by Urquhart.
Yeah.
Is it Toll or Tolly? I never figured it out.
Depends where you're from.
Yeah, The Power of Now by Urquhart, Toll, or Tolly. Yeah. That's actually a really interesting one, because it really does highlight this idea that the past only exists when you think about it, and the future only exists when you think about it. And so you have to waste the current moment to go back in time or forward in time. And when you go back in time, if you're not just like there to learn a lesson, then you have to wallow in mistakes and regrets and things, that decisions, investments you didn't make, things like that. But when you go forward in time, it's just full of anxiety, because nobody can truly predict the future. And so you're just wasting all of this thought and emotion in these two places that actually don't really exist.
Dad, you seem to have a superhuman ability to be able to put things in the past that belong there and focus on the present moment and move forward. How would you say you've been able to master that over your lifetime? Because a lot of people do get stuck in the past.
Well, it's interesting. I developed a philosophy many years ago, which I began to teach to others. And many people, thousands, hundreds of thousands, say that this philosophy changes their life forever. And there's really the difference between positive thinking and negative thinking. With positive thinking, it's sort of like physical fitness. You're brighter, you're smarter, you're more creative, you learn faster, you remember things. With negative thinking, it has the opposite effect. It makes you depressed, it makes you anxious, it causes you to worry, sleep poorly, and so on. So the most important thing in life is to think positively, which sounds kind of trite. But the fact is that it's a choice that you make. And here's my philosophy, is never worry or become upset about something you can't change. And you cannot change a past event. And virtually all unhappiness today is caused by people who are still wrestling with a past event that they haven't accepted. And the automatic reaction is to blame someone else or something else for something that makes you unhappy. And as soon as you stop blaming, your unhappiness goes away. It's gone. It's just, you just disappear like a poof in a magic show. And
It
the
seems,
way,
it
and the
seems
way
to be a tricky balance for you, Dad, because to learn from a past event, you have to take yourself back there, but you
yeah,
can't linger. So, do you
so
have
it's,
advice for getting back there to learn the lesson, to learn the mistake, and then jump out back in the
yeah,
present moment?
so there's two things. One is you ask two questions, which I teach and preach everywhere. Question number one is, what did I do right in this situation? Because there's always something. And by thinking about what you did right, you are much more positive and creative. You actually take control of your mind. Number two is, what would I do differently next time if I had this same situation? And then you think about what you would do differently. And both of the answers are positive. Both of them focus toward the future, and both of them focus on lessons. Now, the second thing is the magic words. And the magic words are, I am responsible. 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 Would you say that? My friend Mark Victor Hansen has this little thing that he does. He calls cancel, 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 cancel. When you say I am responsible, you cancel all the negative emotion associated with the previous event. Because when you accept responsibility, well, it's over. And that's really the key. When people go to psychologists, psychiatrists, psychotherapists, and so on, the reason they go is to talk through, work through something that happened to them that they're still unhappy about. And then it takes about 6 months. I've studied this in psychology. It takes about 6 months to reach the point where the person feels enough trust and confidence in the psychotherapist to tell them, this is what's really, really, really bothering me. And as soon as they let it go, it's gone. Poof.
So you said something interesting, Dad, when you said blaming. Blaming is like giving your energy away. David, something that you taught me, which is like always really valuable. It's a good frame. I don't know what book you read it in, but it's that perpetrator victim savior complex.
Sure, the drama triangle.
Yeah. Can you describe that for everyone?
Well, I mean, it's common when you have families with odd numbers, but so like you have two parents and a child, and oftentimes we will assign these roles to each other unconsciously. As opposed to taking responsibility for ourselves, it's easy to find someone to blame and then to find someone to help sort of get you out of that situation. And so it's sort of just an unconscious habit we develop because most people don't take responsibility for their thoughts and responsibility for their emotions, and so they always assign blame to somebody. And I have found that that's one thing that's tricky with families. And
when you blame somebody else, and so the way I think about it is like when you blame somebody else, you also create these two other people that you have now given your power away to, which is the perpetrator, the person that you're blaming, and then the some other person that's responsible for however you've been victimized. So
and they don't even know about it, right? You assign them these roles, but they're unaware, and then you start acting on these roles and you start behaving and treating these people a certain way, and they're not even privy to what's going on in your head. They don't know that they're supposed to be the savior or the perpetrator. I mean, it's really easy for me, like with my wife and my daughter, let's say, to figure out the roles, right? Like I'll do something, I won't give her a popsicle, so I'm the bad guy, and then she's the savior, so she goes up to her. So she's the victim, my wife's the savior, I'm the perpetrator. Very simple way to understand it. But as you get older, relationships become more complex, and you're assigning these roles to people and they're not even aware of it. So you end up screwing up a lot of other relationships in your life instead of just starting with taking responsibility, which is what Dad talks about.
Yeah, just I am responsible, I am responsible, I am responsible.
And just draw a line under the past. Just say that was then, this is now. That can't be changed, but I can change the future. Now, how do I want to change the future? What would my perfect future look like? And write it down, and then say what would be the first step that I would take right now to begin moving toward the ideal future. And then take action. And when you take action, you take complete control of your life. This is so important, but you have to have written goals. You have to write down your goals in the present tense
But Dad, before we get to goals, because we're talking about mindset, and we're going to talk about goals, because goals are a big thing about how do you stay positive and motivated in the direction. But I just want to go back to blaming, because I feel like there's another solution when you feel like you've been victimized and you're blaming and you're stuck in that kind of doom loop. And that's forgiveness, right?
I was going to say Dad's video on forgiveness. Yeah,
go
ahead, Mike.
That's so important. You know, I've studied spirituality and religion for 50 years. And one of the ideas I came across was that if Jesus had only taught the importance of forgiveness, he would be considered one of the greatest spiritual teachers in history. Just the principle of forgiveness, because it is so enormous. Now, the reason for this is simple. Everybody has one goal in common with everyone else, and that is that they want to be happy. If they're happy, they want to be happier. And they want to do things that make them happy, be with people that make them happy, do work that they enjoy that makes them happy. And so happiness is everybody's common goal. The only question is, how good are you at getting there? And you cannot be happy if you're mad at somebody. You'll notice that you guys, with you and our other children, we've never blamed you for anything. We've never criticized you for anything. We've never made you feel bad about yourself or anything. We just say, well, what did you learn? And what are you going to do differently next time? So you guys don't have any, what are they called, baggage. You don't have any of this baggage to carry around from your childhood, because you've never been criticized. And if anybody is watching this who's a parent, or is it married, or is it a relationship, or if you have staff, you never blame anybody. When I had 35 staff, they would make mistakes, and every mistake cost money and time. And they would feel guilty about it and nervous and are going to lose their job. So I called them all together. I said, look, everybody makes mistakes. The only question is, how do you respond? And the answer is, you learn from it. So if you make a mistake, come to my office, and you have to ask questions. Question number one is, what did you do? What happened exactly? Think it through so that you are clear about what happened. Second of all, what did you learn? And third is, what are you going to do differently next time? And then if you still need to come talk to me, do so. But other than that, you're on your own. And you know what? My office, people used to say that the one thing about my office is that they walk in the door and all they hear is laughter. Everybody laughs. Everybody's happy. Everybody works together because they know that they can't make a mistake. All they do is learn a lesson and think it through and pass it on. Many people say the best thing I ever heard is, working for you is the best job I ever had in my life, because it was so positive all the time.
Well, something that you taught me, and we've talked about, is when you think about forgiveness, most people go, well, how could I forgive that person or the situation or the circumstance? How could I possibly forgive it? But it's not about what that person did or that certain situation or circumstance. Forgiveness is about clearing up your mental and emotional capacity to think about other things, right? It's an inner game.
More for you than for them.
It has nothing to do with the other person.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks, well, I'm giving this person a gift that they don't deserve by forgiving them. No, it has to do with you. It's you who needs to forgive. It's you who needs to get your mind clear.
Video on forgive. You have a video that you talk about how you have to forgive 3 different people. One of them is your parents. One of them is yourself. What was the other one? Your kids or your old self?
Anybody in your life that you're still angry about, let it go. Just let it go, as we talked about before. Just say, I forgive them 100% for everything, and I just let them go. And each time you think of that person that made you mad or hurt you in some way, immediately cancel. I forgive them 100% for everything. And wishing a person well who has hurt you frees you. It doesn't matter about the other person. Everybody thinks, well, I'm going to let them off the hook. No, it's you who's on the hook, you idiot.
It reminds me about anger, right? Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
That's a good one.
More for yourself.
Now, I just wanted to mention something. I've been working day and night to finish my next book, my 97th book, and it's called Superlearning Made Simple. And the entire book, it's an absolutely amazing book. I actually wrote it back in the 90s, and I assembled all the information that I could find in the world based on how to learn faster. Because the things that you learn and internalize determine what happens to you on the outside. The highest paid people are the ones who are good learners. They keep learning more important skills, which enable them to get more and better results, which enable them to be paid more and more money. And pretty soon they live in a big house on a hill and their kids go to private school. So I've been working on this book and I've been absolutely astonished in a very happy way, astonished at how good it is in the sense that it explains all the different ways that you can step on the accelerator of your own ability to learn. You can learn any subject. You can memorize anything. We tell stories about people who decided to memorize a full page of the Los Angeles telephone book. And they did. They practiced and associated the name with the address with the name. And a person on the stage, on television, could ask them any name on that page of the telephone book, and the person could get back the name and the address and the number. And you say, well, that's incredible. I mean, you could do that for 3 numbers. It would be a lot. Here's a person who never had any memory training at all, who by using memory techniques was able to memorize a whole page. And then somebody asked him on television, the host said, well, what about memorizing more than 1 page? And he said, I hadn't thought about that. So over the next couple of years, he memorized the entire Los Angeles telephone book, this big. He memorized all the names and numbers and addresses and so
incredible.
on.
And Dad, I'm just going to interrupt real fast. We got a lot of people that are joining us and have just joined us.
Yes.
Just for context, everyone, today's theme, we're talking about mindset and attitude. We had a ton of questions about people feeling stuck or unable to move past like a mental moment or staying motivated. And so that's the topic of today. And then Dad, to go back to what you were saying about learning new things, I think that's a really great way of staying positive. But I want to ask a question, because in terms of your mindset and your attitude, does it come down to 2 things? I always think about it maybe coming down to just 2 things. One is how you think, like what you think about, right? Like, so staying positive, using positive affirmations, practicing forgiveness, and all these things, like kind of like thinking skills, right? But then inputs are also super important. Like, what are you feeding? What are you eating? Like in terms of like content, what are you reading? Who are you spending time with? Do you think they're equally important? Is one more important than the other? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I'm constantly feeding my mind. Like you eat nutritious foods, I'm constantly feeding my mind with nutritious ideas. And that's why I ask you, I ask other people, what are you reading? What do you recommend that I read? And sometimes you can just find one bit of information. For example, as soon as we decided to do a podcast, and soon we'll be doing a podcast 300, well, actually 52 times a year, is I went out and got a book. Where's that book? The yellow book. It's over there. I went out and I ordered a book. I said, well, I have to learn as much as possible. So I immediately ordered the book, Podcasting Made Simple. Podcasting Made Simple. And it cost a couple of dollars. And it's based on years of research and experience on how to put together a podcast that people enjoy and want to hear again. By the way, Nada, who's one of our people here, Nada talked about gratitude and how important gratitude is as a mental tool. And if you give thanks, you cannot be negative about anything for which you give thanks. So we say, well, thank you for that. It was a bad experience, but I learned a valuable lesson that I'll be able to use for the rest of my life. So trick yourself. Find ways to practice gratitude. Gratitude is one of the highest forms of thinking in the whole world. And it makes you an extremely better person, a happier person, a more pleasant, positive person.
Just to reinforce that point, there was actually a study done, and they they were basically testing the benefits of gratitude. And what they realized was that gratitude has, I think it was like something like 8 or 9 primary benefits. It increases oxytocin. It makes you happier. It lowers your blood pressure. Better sex. Just boom, boom. If it was if gratitude was a pill, it would be like $1 trillion industry. And then but they found that there was a big key though. There was the number one key to getting the benefits of gratitude was how you express it. If you just think of it in your head, it doesn't really count. You have to find out creative ways of expressing gratitude to other people, and then you get that benefit.
Well, Michael, on that note, Jacob mentions what is forgiveness, not just a statement. Have you ever considered writing a letter to the person you're forgiving and not sending it? Just in the same way you're talking about, get it out of your mind, and throw it away or burn it.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Michael, David, you're in the shadow.
Sorry, the sun is.
I don't see your face very much anymore.
How about that?
That's much better. Not that we necessarily want to see your face. But...
Oh, stop!
But yeah, Jacob, write a letter. It's not just a statement. It's not just saying, "Oh, I forgive you for this and that." Write the whole thing out. Write everything you forgive them for, and then throw it away. Don't send it. I've done that a bunch of times. I've sent a bunch of texts that I didn't actually send, and by just writing them out, I felt relief.
Yeah,
without
getting it out of your body. Yeah.
Yes. The metaphysics that I began studying 40, 50 years ago were by Gurdjieff and Uspensky in Russia. And one of the things they talked about, which had an inordinate influence on my mind and life, was what was called the law of control. And the law of control says that if you choose, you are the main source of control in your life. If you don't, you're controlled by other people. And what it says is that the more you feel in control, the happier you are. The less you feel controlled by others for any reason, the more negative you are. So what you have to do is you have to, again, accept responsibility and realize that you are the power in your own life. And say those words: I am the power in my own life. I decide what I want to do, where I want to go, because I am, may not have been able to control the past, but by gum, I am in control of the present and the future. And just remind yourself of that. You are the power in your own life. You can do anything you put your mind to. There are no limits except the limits that you place on yourself. And so therefore, if you don't place any limits on yourself, then there are no limits. You can have anything. One of the things I talk about, and we come back to this, is about becoming a self-made millionaire. There's now 20 million self-made millionaires in America. These are people who started with nothing, and over the course of their lifetime, they became dollar millionaires or euro millionaires. And once you become a millionaire, we say the first million is very hard. It takes 7 to 10 years after you decide to do it. And then the second million is almost automatic because you just keep doing what you were doing to earn the first million.
Don't you have to fundamentally change the way you think?
Yes, you do.
Before you become a millionaire?
Yes. Well, Jim Rohn, my good friend, said that it's very hard to become a millionaire. You have to become a totally different person, especially in terms of goals, self-control, self-discipline, hard work, focus, result orientation. In other words, you have to earn it. And there used to be an advertisement on the television for a stockbroker's firm in New York, and he said, "We make money the old-fashioned way. We earn it." And it's a very popular act. And that's how you become wealthy: is you earn it.
So let's talk about psychology real fast. So Sigmund Freud came up with the id, ego, and superego.
Yes.
In your book, Maximum Achievement, you call it, the conscious, subconscious, and superconscious mind.
Superconscious, yes.
So talk about how those three things are related.
Well, the conscious mind is what you deal with on a regular basis. You get up, get a breakfast, coffee, travel, drive. This is your conscious mind. You're in control of everything. You're constantly thinking currently. Your subconscious mind is your library, your storage unit, your computer that holds all memories that you've ever had. Everything that you have ever learned, and this is what I'm relearning and rewriting this book, Superlearning, is that everything that you've ever experienced is still there. And scientists, brain scientists, have been able to trigger with an electrode, sort of touch parts of the brain on the top, and remember something that happened 25 years ago perfectly clearly. Place, people, sound, smells, everything. Every memory that you've ever had is stored in your subconscious mind. They say that the subconscious mind is such that you have 20,000. You have 1 million. I'm sorry, 100 million cells in your
That I actually did the research. It's closer. It's like 90 billion neurons, and they're interconnected both electrically and chemically. And so you have something like 100 trillion different connections inside the human brain.
Yeah, they say every cell is connected directly or indirectly with 20,000 other cells, which means the number of thoughts that you can think, each of us who's on this show, that you can think is equivalent to all of the molecules in the known universe. There are so many zeros, 1+0s that go on forever. You are so smart. And most people use this incredible brain to go to work and go home and watch television.
I want to stay on this topic. So the conscious mind is like your chatterbox, right? It's your agency. It's kind of like it's kind of living with this voice inside you. Yeah, exactly. So how do you use your conscious mind to program your subconscious mind?
Well, repetition. And this is what my book on Superlearning does.
It shows repetition, Dad?
17. Pardon?
Repetition?
Yeah.
Repetition.
17 different ways to sort of bombard your mind with new information. And the interesting thing is that your brain is like a muscle. If you work it out, it becomes stronger and stronger. So you learn faster and faster. And I've worked with people who are in the speaking industry. And what they did is they said, what can I speak on that will get me booked? And they decided memory. So they decided to become memory experts. And what they did is they read the books on memory, and then they would take an audience, and they would wait when people were coming in. They meet everybody and ask them their name and so on. And then they get up on the stage and they say, let me show you what you can do with your memory. You, Susan, you, John, you, Ralph, you, Paula, you. In other words, they would remember almost every name in the room. And people were absolutely shocked. One meeting, whereas most people forget the person as soon as they meet them, where they would just remember name after him. And it's just a matter of, and then they say, this is how you do it. And they tell you methodology and process, which is in my book. And so you can make your memory incredible. The reason people don't pay attention is because they're not paying attention. If I were to say to you, I'm going to introduce you to somebody in about 5 minutes in this crowd, and this person, if he likes you, is going to give you $100,000 for anything that you want to spend it on. But you have to remember his name by the end of the day. If he comes up to you again, you have to remember his name. So remember his name, okay? And then he introduces you to someone, and the person, you say, "What is your name? How do you spell it? And where did that name come from?" I always ask these questions about people's names, and what that does is it locks it in to my memory, so that person comes up to me 2 hours later at the end of the seminar, I remember that person's name because I'm going to get $100,000.
If you can say the name 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Three times in different ways, then you'll internalize it. So, but Dad, I was setting you up for something. So I was asking you how you use your conscious mind to program your subconscious mind.
Well, you do it through repetition. There's really no replacement for that. But
It was a lead up so you could talk about goals, Dad.
Well, not yet, but when
Okay.
when I was 19, I started to take karate lessons, Shotokan karate, and I was recommended to a really good school, and I still remember it. And for almost 6 months, I went every day, 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. I went over and over again. And what they taught you was, in order to learn how to do one kick, you have to do it 1,000 times. In order to do one punch, in order to do one movement, forward, backward. So they repeated over and over again until finally it reached the point where every movement was automatic and easy. And of course, your belts, you get higher and higher and higher. I got up eventually to a black belt in Shotokan and a black belt in Taekwondo. And just through repetition, repetition, repetition. And then I competed in national and international championships and won and succeeded. But it was because of all the repetition. So repetition is, they call, the mother of learning. Repetition is
you mentioned earlier about a friend of yours, when he has negative thoughts, he says, cancel, cancel. You said it twice now. And it sounds like you've developed a very useful trigger to stay in the present moment. And it's not, I don't think it's as easy for everybody, because you've been doing this for so long, to develop this way of canceling these negative thoughts. Is there advice you have to develop some sort of a trigger? Some people will wear a rubber band, and when they have a thought, they'll snap the rubber band and it will bring them back to the present moment. But is there something that you would recommend to be able to sort of train your mind to stay in the present moment and not go into the past?
Yeah, and what you do, you can think of, Michael just came back from Hawaii. You could think about Hawaii. We've gone there many times. You just think about Hawaii. And when you think about Hawaii, remember, you can only think one thought at a time. You can think 1,000 thoughts in a row, but only one at a time. So when you think of one thought, you cancel out all others. You basically break the train. And so think of something that makes you happy. Think of a wonderful place you went to, or an experience that you had, or some place where you laughed, and something like that. And by doing that, you break the rhythm of thinking, and you directly become positive rather than negative.
So you're retraining your mind with gratitude.
Yes, you make it a game to be positive most of the time. Nobody can be positive 100% of the time unless they're smoking some really good stuff.
But have you noticed that when you are positive and you're around someone who's in a negative mindset, that you can't occupy the same space with them for very long? They either try to bring you down, and if you're unable to because you're being so high, you almost repel them away from you. So, I mean, it's sort of good practice to go out in public and just feel other people's energy, and don't let that influence your mindset.
The younger generations, David, they call that reading the vibes.
Well,
it's like
it's something to
good vibes and bad vibes, and this person, I'm not vibing with this person.
I tell my kids, read the room, learn to take the temperature of a room, figure out what the emotional sort of, median is of all the people in the room. And, if you want something, maybe try to figure out like how you would get that, instead of just run in and ask for it. Oh, maybe these people are in the middle of a conversation, or maybe this person's a little bit sad and they need a hug. So reading the room, I mean, like my 6-year-old does that. So I know, we can all do that.
Yeah, David, that's incredibly powerful advice. That's like something that Tasha and I both work on with the kids, because, they'll get excited, they'll run into a room, and there might be like a very serious conversation happening, or an emotional moment. And if they just run in and interrupt constantly, it completely changes the energy. You lose a moment. And so kind of having that situational awareness of, okay, I'm going to walk into a new space, a new environment. How am I going to adapt? Am I going to say something? Do I have to say, excuse me first? Or is it just not a good time? Should I come back later?
Yeah. And Dad, your mindset is you're going to walk in and you're going to be positive, and you're going to be optimistic, and you're going to draw in the people that are going to help you in your life, and you're going to draw in those relationships, and everybody else is going to be repelled.
It's interesting, and worth remembering. But you have 3 parts of your conscious mind. You have the self-ideal, which is the person you would like to be, perfect life in the future. And the greater clarity you have about your future ideal life, the faster you make it a reality. The second is your self-image, which is how you see yourself and think about yourself. And you always behave on the outside the way you see yourself on the inside. And the third is your self-esteem. And your self-esteem is the emotional components, the emotional power. And the way to raise your self-esteem is to repeat the words, I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. And everything that you do or don't do causes you to either like yourself more or like yourself less.
Can we get a few I like myselfs in the chat box? Guys, come on. Just type it out. You'd be surprised how good it feels just to type it out.
Yeah, just say I like myself.
I like myself. Come on.
So I like, and then the way that you have wonderful relationships with others is to help them to like themselves. And how do you do that? Well, it's very simple. Ask them questions and listen to the answers. When you listen to people closely when they talk, they feel better about themselves. They feel happier about themselves, and they like you better. Also, complimenting people and anything that looks very nice on you, or that's excellent. Anything that they do or have, just compliment them in a very friendly way, and it causes them to like themselves more. So every time you do anything that causes a person to like themselves more, they do like themselves, and they like you more, and they like you better, and then you like yourself better. So it becomes an upward spiral of helping other people to be the best they can be, as they say in the Army posters.
I love it, guys. Thank you. I like myself. I like myself. I love it. Esther, Christine.
So I've noticed a contradiction. So when I force myself to do something that I know I should be doing, even though that little voice is like, oh, you can do this other thing, or you'll do it later, or it's inconvenient, or it's uncomfortable. When I force myself to do something I know I should do, I like myself more. So
yes.
Maybe we can speak to that. What does that mean?
Well, coming back to what you were referring to, goals, is when you're clear about what you want to be or have or do, and you make a single step toward fulfilling that, your self-esteem goes up. Is you are, when my friend Dennis used to say, you're born to be a winner. Well, how do you win? How do you become a winner? You win. And what is winning? It's forward movement. It doesn't mean reaching the end state. It just means every time that you move forward, every time you read a page or read a great idea that you can use to be more productive, to help you achieve your goals or higher income, it makes you happy, and it motivates you to do it again and again. So what happens is that people, and this is what I was going to talk about, my latest edition of the book, Eat That Frog. We spent as much time re-editing that book. It's now sold 5 million copies in 55 languages, but we rewrote the book to reissue it, fourth edition, and there's a whole new chapter on habit pattern formation. And basically what it says is that you are your habits. The rule is form good habits and make them your masters, and get rid of bad habits. And the way you get rid of a bad habit is you have to replace it with a good habit. So therefore, you can say to yourself, if I had this habit, what difference would it make in my life? Something real simple. Like if you're
can you give us an example, Dad, of what you like? Let's say you're I don't know, an alcoholic or something. What would you give?
Well, most successful people are entrepreneurs in some way, as they get paid for results. They work on commission, if you like. They get paid for the results that they get. So how do you get more results? Is you call in more people. And I've mentioned this before, but I will say to my audience, 1,000 people, how many people here would like to double their income very quickly, guaranteed? Everybody raises their hand. I said, well, I'll show you how to do it. And but it'll be later on today, or maybe this afternoon, I'll tell you the method. And everybody goes, boo, boo, we want to hear it now. This is before the seminar even starts. I say, okay, here it is. The average professional entrepreneur calls on 2 new potential customers per day. That's the average. Some are above, some are below. I know people call it 1 a week, 1 new person a week. But just imagine you're the average and you're making 2 calls on 2 new people each day. Okay. Now, if you want to double your income, it's very simple. Call on 4 people each day rather than 2. Start first thing in the morning and set a goal to speak to 4 new potential customers before you do anything else. No coffee, no tea, no lunch, no talking with your friends, playing with a computer or anything else. Is call on 4 new people. And because of the law of probabilities, you don't know where the sale will come from, but your sales will double. And I've had countless people throughout my career come back to me and say, I couldn't believe it was so easy to earn twice as much. Yes. And if you want to double your income again, call on 8 people a day. That's 1 per hour. Can you do that? Yes. Organize your life, start earlier, work harder, stay better, don't waste time in the office. Just make more calls. So that's the discipline.
So the simple way to phrase that is you want to double your results, figure out what activities, make those results happen, and then double those activities. So It could apply to anything, not just sales or entrepreneurship.
But if it's sales, it's prospecting.
Yeah. And then Lazar from YouTube says, fake it till you make it. And I want to just address that because, one of the studies of motivation is that you have to act a certain way to feel a certain way. So the action precedes the feeling. And so, I like that. I don't like the word fake so much, but it is true that if you want to be motivated, you have to act motivated. If you want to be disciplined, you have to say, well, what would a disciplined person do? And then do that. And then you'll be disciplined. If you want to be successful, you have to say, well, what would a successful person do? Yes. Well, and then do those things. And you have to do the things before the feelings come.
And it's a misconception to think that you're going to get to this place where then you'll be able to feel disciplined. Like, oh, when I'm not tired, I'll be disciplined. Or when I'm finally at peace in this area, I'll be disciplined. A guy, I forget his name online, but he made a great video about discipline where he says, if you're tired, do it tired. If you're angry, do it angry. And eventually you'll train your brain to be disciplined regardless of your emotional state, because everybody's waiting to feel better to do something. But what you said, Michael, is so powerful. You have to do it first, and then you'll get the emotion. You're never going to get the emotion first without the action.
And so I just imagine somebody just sitting on their couch watching Netflix and going, well, just as soon as I feel inspired and motivated and disciplined, I'll stop watching Netflix and go do that thing.
Yeah,
and it's just like the opposite of how.
On the topic of Netflix, Michael, and the phones and the popcorn brain and the scrolling, we've never been bombarded by so many attention hijacking, opportunities. What advice do you have with regards to being able to put the phone away, or the streaming services, or all these distractions? Is there something that you do specifically to sort of maybe like leave your phone on airplane mode, or what do you do every day?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Yeah, I leave it plugged in a different room, and then I'll try to discipline myself to just come back to it occasionally. But you're right, David. It's like an ongoing battle because the distractions are ongoing; they don't stop. And at every company, I think, in every company in the world. I mean, if you think, just to take your pick, every social media company, Netflix, Apple, they're all competing for the user's attention and engagement. And they're trying to use that attention and engagement to sell things, right? Sometimes it's just if you see an ad, somebody's getting paid somewhere, right? If you buy something, or your feeds, like, and when it comes to like attitude too, we talked about inputs. Like, what are you putting in? What are you consuming as far as like content is concerned? Is it positive? Is it productive? Is it
most likely it's probably something negative? One piece of advice I would say, the single most valuable piece of advice is stop scrolling. If you find yourself in one of those scrolling vortexes, minutes can pass, hours can pass where you're scrolling. It doesn't matter what it is, Twitter, Instagram, anything, right? Just stop scrolling, or get something like a refocus app that sets a timer and blocks the app after 20 minutes. There's a lot of great apps out there that block all of these distracting apps for you.
Here's the rule.
Timers are very important.
Leave things off. Things off. And if they're on, turn things off.
David, have you heard of this metric called ARPU?
No.
It's revenue per user. It's basically how the big tech companies gauge how much money they're making per user on their platform.
Yes.
And I think Facebook hovers around $40 per year per user. And so that's how much they make off of your engagement and time. And just ask yourself, is $40 worth all the time that you're spending on these platforms? Is it really worth it? Because you're selling your attention for a pittance at that point.
And it's passive attention. It's passive attention that gets you nothing in return. The only way to actually create something of value is to be active with your attention.
One of the most important things that our friends do, we all do, is to calculate your hourly rate. How much do you earn per hour? And it's very simple. You take the number, your income, the amount that you declare on your tax forms, and divide it by 2,000, which is the number of hours that the average person works in a year. So that gives you your hourly rate. Then what you do is you compare everything you do against that hourly rate and ask this question: would I pay someone else to do what I'm doing right now, this amount per hour? So if you make $100,000 a year, divided by 2,000 hours, that's $50 an hour. Would you pay someone else $50 an hour to do what you're doing right now? Playing with your computer, reading the newspaper, shooting the breeze with your friends, watching TV. Would you pay somebody else $50 an hour or more to do this? And if the answer is no, stop it right now. Just slam on the brake.
Because you're equating your seconds and minutes of attention to dollars, and then you can't justify it anymore. But most people are not making that leap where their attention's actually worth that much. They don't realize how much their attention is worth. They used to want you to click on something to buy something. Now they just want to keep you watching, and that's how they get you.
The algorithm, right? The TikTok has probably one of the most engaging algorithms because it tracks what you watch, not just like how long you watch it, but where your eyes go while you're watching something, and then it reinforces that with the next thing that you watch. And so it's constantly giving you more of what you want. And so you can hop on it for like a minute, and then all of a sudden 10 minutes go by and you go, what just happened? Yes. That's why I don't have TikTok. and that's another thing. It's one of the reasons why none of my kids are on social media. And I know it's eventually going to happen, but I'm going to prevent it for as long as possible.
Yeah. So it comes back to our old friend, self-discipline, self-control. And ask yourself, if my life was perfect in every way, what would happen? What would it look like? And if I was the ideal person to create my ideal life, what kind of a person would I be? What would I do first thing in the morning? What would be my outstanding qualities? Here's a great question: is what do I want people to say about me after they get to know me when describing my qualities? If someone were to ask a friend of yours, what is his or her best quality? What is his or her best quality? What would you want them to say? These are not questions that you can leave to chance. These are questions you must be clear about. You want to be, of course, you want to be honest. You want to be friendly, helpful. You want to be competent. You want to be well organized, well disciplined. In other words, think of all the wonderful things that you would like people to say about you after they got to know you, and then make sure that they do, because they will respond to your responses.
So let's go back. So we talked about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Talk about the superconscious mind, because we didn't touch on that.
Well, when Barb and I first learned about the superconscious mind many years ago, we felt we'd died and gone to heaven, because the superconscious mind is the oversoul. It's the great mind of the universe. It contains all information and knowledge ever discovered, past, present, or future, and it's accessible to you like what they call the cloud today. It's accessible to you by you knowing clearly what you want. You will attract into your life every idea, person, opportunity, resource that you need to achieve it. So clarity is really important. And you'll find they talk about the law of attraction. Law of attraction is part of the law of superconscious activity. And I've just written a book on the subject of the great universal laws. And the law of superconscious activity summarizes all the other laws and makes it available to your fingertips by you becoming clear about what you want and then taking action to take the first step, like Confucius and Lao Tzu, begins 1,000 leagues. Taking the first step activates your superconscious mind. Writing down your goals activates it. Thinking about how to achieve your goals activates it. Learning more about how you can be better at what you do activates your superconscious mind and attracts into your life everything that you need to achieve your goals. It's the most powerful part of your entire world. And once you start to use your superconscious mind, you'll accomplish more in a year or two than many people accomplish in a lifetime.
The task begun is half done.
Yes.
You do a lot of visualization exercises too, Dad, right?
Yes.
Create the imagery of where you want to be.
Yes. Well, when you have a clear picture of what you want to, for example, we're living in a very nice house, as you know, because you were all brought up in this house. And we started planning for this house when we were living in a rental because we couldn't afford a house. And we began to write down everything that we wanted in our perfect house. And I've recommended this to my audiences over the years is, what is your dream house? What would it look like? And you know what most people say? Oh, I'll recognize it when I see it. No, that's not how you find your dream house. What you do is you get magazines and pictures and newspapers and write them down and write down everything that you want in the perfect house. And so we started doing that about 3 or 4 years before we got to this house. We looked at 150 houses, and we were living in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. This home is in Solana Beach, which is part of San Diego. And we looked at house after house, and we walked into this house, and we looked around the front door, and we looked at each other, and we knew that this was the house. And we've been here now more than 30 years, raised all 4 children, and it's just absolutely perfect house, overlooking a golf course, ocean in the distance, beautiful neighborhood, wonderful schools, and everything: bedrooms, bathrooms, family rooms, living rooms, swimming pool. Everything that we wanted was written down before we found the house.
And Dad, this doesn't just apply to houses. This can apply to spouses, people, right?
Right.
Or businesses.
This is something that you did before you met Mom. You remember telling us that story? How you wrote down the ideal person for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, more than 40 things. And Barbara has all 40 plus things I didn't even think about.
All the extras. So if you're single and you're dating and you're struggling to find a mate, this is a great exercise. Write down the 20 characteristics of a person that you think will make you happy and focus on those things. And you'd be surprised the way the universe bends and brings you these things, not just houses.
And people say, well, what if it doesn't work? But that's not the right question. The right question is, what if it does work? Because it always works. Because you're activating not just your own powers, but the power of the superconscious. You're basically sending the message into the cloud, and the cloud then finds all over the world, finds the right person for you, and brings them to you and brings you to them. It's the most amazing thing. And so just do it.
Why don't you give it a try?
Why don't you give it a try?
If you want a perfect job, describe a perfect job. If you want to earn a certain income, describe all the things you would have to learn and do to be worth this particular income. And you would just be amazed at how much power you have in your own life. And things just start to happen.
And you must write it down, right, Dad? You can't just think about it. You can't type it out on the computer. There's something about the psychomotor neurons in your brain when you write something down.
Write it down.
I decided to write a program on luck some years ago, which became known as the laws of luck. And it's a 6-hour program. And I began to do lots of research. And I found that there's many, many different definitions and explanations of luck. But one that stays in my mind was luck comes often from a casual conversation with a complete stranger. In other words, at a bus stop, or you're at a social gathering, or you're calling on somebody in business with a complete stranger, and you start chatting, and the person says, "Have you ever thought of doing this?" Or "Have you ever read this book?" Or "Have you ever been to this place?" And they just throw out a little tidbit, and you act on it, and it turns out that changes your whole life.
I've heard another one. Luck is preparation meets timing, right?
Yes.
And oftentimes you'll see somebody get lucky, but you won't see all the preparation that has led up to that chance encounter.
Actually, the quote is, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So you're prepared. You see, I remember Earl Nightingale used to say that if you have your opportunity, if it comes to you, but you're not prepared, you will just look foolish. Or your job is to have complete faith that if you read, study, learn, practice, and get better, your time will come. Your opportunity will come. Your door will open, and you will be ready.
What if it doesn't work in a week, though, or 2 weeks? I've been doing this every day, and I haven't gotten any results. Well, where's my opportunity?
Well, the answer is you're not ready for it yet. It will come to you when you're ready. And so therefore your job is to keep on preparing. Just keep on working harder and harder. And at a certain point, you will evolve to the point where your opportunity meets your preparation. It always happens. It always 100% happens. So you just have to have confidence that if I keep on keeping on, my chance will come.
It's like that quote, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
The only time it doesn't work is when you give up.
Yes. Abraham Lincoln had a famous quote. He said when he was poor and working as a farmer and splitting rails and working his way up, he said, "I will study and prepare myself, and someday my chance will come." I love that quote. I will study and prepare myself, and someday my chance will come. So if your chance doesn't come, it means that you haven't studied and prepared yourself quite enough. You need to get back to working on yourself.
All right. Wow. Well, we've covered a ton in the last hour. We talked about the power of being present, positive, your inputs, forgiveness, gratitude, repetition. Making progress towards your goals is almost as important, or probably more important, than achieving your goals. Just the act of making progress. You want to double your results, double your activity. We talked about self-discipline, the superconscious mind, the power of writing things down.
If you really want to program your superconscious mind, you have to go back to the original book from Brian, Maximum Achievement. It talks about all of this stuff, how to forgive, how to reprogram your subconscious mind for success. This came out way before The Secret. People love The Secret, Law of Attraction. I think it's great. But this book was there before, talking about all kinds of other stuff. So pick that one up.
It's interesting about the book, The Secret, which is wonderful. It's about the law of attraction. But the woman who wrote the book, Rhonda Burns, is from New Zealand. And she went through my seminar, the Psychology of Achievement seminar, with my trainers in New Zealand 3 times before she wrote the book, The Secret. And that's one of several laws that we teach in the first session, is the law of attraction. And she called my office and she said, from New Zealand, saying, I'd like to interview Brian about this law of attraction book, because it's really been very helpful to me, and I'm about to publish it. And the person who answered the phone in my office said, well, if there's no money in it for Brian, we're not interested, and hung up. So what she did is she went to a conference in Hawaii with a cameraman, and she interviewed a whole bunch of people like Bob Proctor and others, and interviewed them, Dennis Waitley, and interviewed them about the power of attraction. And they quoted her. And there was filmed in the hallway outside their meeting room, and they were invited on Oprah Winfrey, and they went on television, and they many of them say author of the, or star of the what is it called? The Secret. Star of The Secret, personality in The Secret, part of The Secret, contributor to The Secret. And that became a major part of their success as speakers because the book was so successful. So there's a lot of background to that. But basically what Rhonda did is she got the idea and she said, this is a great idea, the idea of attraction. And she had maximized it and became one of the most famous and successful author speakers in the world. And that's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Because nobody invents anything. We just learn it from others.
Well, one thing I learned from you, Dad, and it was a clip I saw from 30 years ago. And you said you wake up in the morning and you say, I do believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today. And you say it all day long. And before you go to sleep at night, you say, I do believe something wonderful is going to happen to me tomorrow. So guys in the chat, if you could just say that, say, I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today, and just keep that cycle on. Anytime a negative thought pops in, do Brian's cancel, and repeat that thought. I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today. And it will. I promise you it will.
And it will. And it will.
The power of positive expectations.
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I love it.
I'm going to wrap up, guys, unless you guys have any closing thoughts.
If there's anything that you guys want us to talk about regarding a theme, throw it in the chat. And, something like the subconscious mind, I know Brian could talk all day about that and still have lots of gold. So if there's something specific, throw it in.
That's a good point. Yeah, we'll review all the comments from all the different platforms that we're streaming on. We'll collect all the questions, and we will address them all in the next episode of the Brian Tracy Experience. This has been a pretty powerfully packed episode full of ideas. We hope you got a lot of value today. David, thank you for helping me co-host. Dad, it's always a pleasure. I have to come over to your house for a couple of things anyway, so I'll see you in an hour or so. All right, guys.
All right.
Love you.
We love you guys. We love all you guys
so much
for watching in. Thank you so much.
I believe something wonderful is going to happen to me today.
Yes, something wonderful is going to happen to you today. And the more you believe it, the more it will come true and faster.
Awesome. All right, everyone.
Adios.